Hello everyone and welcome to your astrological overview for the month of October. I am pre-recording this. I'm actually going to be traveling in 2 days time, so I'm quickly making this video so you have it ready for the end of September when it's going to be published to give you some highlights with regards to the astrological energies for the month of October and the lunations. We are going to look at the charts. I'm going to name the major aspects, all the ingresses into new sign stationings and stuff. I'm going to tell you all about that. And yeah, as when you're watching this, I'm on my honeymoon in Bali. I will be back at the end of October. So by that point, I guess I'll have a clearer idea what am I doing with regards to my video making and going forward with this channel. But for the time being, when you're watching this, we're going to dive into the overview and the astrological highlights for the month of October. So yeah, let's just start with the lunations. So we have two lunations. This will be the first lunations post-eclipses. So we will start with the full moon in Aries, which will be on, for some of us, it will be on October 6th. For some of us on October 7th. For me in Bali, it will be October 7th. And then we'll have the new moon in Libra on October 21st. And that will be quite late on 28 degrees and 21 minutes. And this is because we had the second new moon in Virgo, which was the solar eclipse. And that was on the final day of the Virgo season. So all the lunations, all the new moons now will be on the late degrees of the sign. All right, so these will be the lunations we'll look at shortly. Then with regards to the ingresses, we'll have Mercury moving to the sign of Scorpio on October 6th, Venus moving to the sign of Libra on October 13th, Neptune retrograding back into the sign of Pisces on October 22nd, and Sun entering the sign of Scorpio on October 22nd as well, and Mercury moving into the sign of Sagittarius on October 29th. With regards to stationings, we're going to have Pluto stationing direct on 13th of October. So that will be right in between the two lunations on 1 degree and 22 minutes of Aquarius. So October 13th, Pluto goes direct. And then Mercury will enter his pre-retrograde shadow on October 21st on 20 degrees and 42 minutes of Scorpio. Mercury will station retrograde on November 9th in the sign of Sagittarius, but then will retrograde back into the sign of Scorpio and then go forward into the sign of Sagittarius later on in I believe beginning of December, because Mercury will station at the end of November. So with regards to the major aspects, so October 1st, we're going to start with Mercury making a square to Jupiter. October 4th, Venus will conjunct South Node, oppose North Node. October 7th, Mercury will square Pluto. October 8th, Venus will sextile Jupiter. October 11th, Venus will oppose Saturn. October 13th, Venus will oppose Neptune. October 14th, this is Venus already in the sign of Libra on October 13th. Venus in the sign of Libra opposing Neptune in Aries. October 14th, Venus in Libra trining Uranus. October 14th, Venus in Libra trining Pluto. October 17th, Sun is going to square Jupiter. October 18th, Mars is going to trine North Node. October 19th, Mercury is going to trine North Node. October 20th, Mars and Mercury are going to have their next conjunction, and that will be actually in the sign of Scorpio. 19 degrees and 11 minutes. The previous conjunction took place in the sign of Capricorn in January, end of January, I think it was January 27th, 2020. Where are we now? 2025, 2024, January 2024. So Mars and Mercury are having conjunction on the 20th of October in the sign of Scorpio, 19 degrees, second decan. This is a Piscean decan. All right, moving on. October 24th, Sun in the sign of Scorpio making a square to Pluto. October 24th, also Mercury trining Jupiter. October 25th, Mercury in Scorpio making a trine to Saturn retrograde. 28th of October, Mars trining Jupiter. 29th of October, Mercury trining Neptune. 29th of so 29th of October, we have three things. So that Mercury trines to Neptune, Mars trines to Saturn, and Mercury opposes Uranus retrograde in the sign of Gemini. And we'll end October 30th with Mercury making a sextile to Pluto. So this is all with regards to the main transits. I'm sure there are many more. The Chiron transits doesn't show here on this astrological highlight, but there will be definitely things going on with Chiron because we have planets in the sign of Libra. So that obviously is going to be opposing Chiron in the sign of Aries. But this is just the astrological overview. There are many things going on, but I'm not going to dive into all the details to keep this video short and sweet. And now I'm going to dive into the charts so we can actually see how all of these energies are going to be playing out. So as I already mentioned, we will be starting with the full moon, unlike, until the Virgo second new moon in Virgo season, second new moon in Virgo, we had the new moon, full moon. I know this was also the reversal was the case last year because we had the two full moons in the sign of Capricorn. So then things like evened up. And now again, we're going to start with the full moon and then we're going to have the new moon at the end of the season, which the new moon will be connected to. So this will be, as I already mentioned, the first lunation after the eclipses. Prior to this, we had the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, the new moon number 2, which was on 29 degrees on September 21st. This is the next one, 2nd of October 2025, post-eclipses, and this is the full moon in Aries. Just to remind everyone, the seeding happened with the eclipse. So this was the final eclipse in the sign of Aries, which took place on March 29th. This was right before Neptune moved into the sign of Aries for the first time. Neptune moved the next day. And also it was on the same day, Mercury and Neptune had their conjunction. Mercury was retrograde, they had a conjunction on 29 degrees and 59 minutes of Pisces. So then in itself says about ending of the old perception, ending of the old way of doing things, being communicating and connecting to the external reality. So you can see almost everything was concentrated in a sign of Pisces in Aries during the time of the new moon in Aries, which was the final eclipse in the sign of Aries for this time around. And it was 8 degrees, obviously, because in an eclipse, the minutes are not quite the same. And we can see, Venus was retrograde, conjunct the North Node, actually coming into the second conjunction with the North Node. Venus had 3 conjunctions with North Node, so did Mercury, and Venus also conjuncted Saturn 3 times. Mercury didn't, but they both conjuncted Neptune 3 times, and the third one was in the sign of Aries. So, okay, so I'm not going to really spend time on this. You can see Mars at the time was already direct, still in the sign of Cancer as the ruler of this eclipse. So this was all about conceiving the new identity. So going through these upcoming cycles that will help us to become who we really came here to be. Because of course, Moon in the sign of Aries with the Mars in the sign of Cancer, they had a mutual reception. So the eclipse and the ruler had the mutual reception, which says that we conceived, and this is something that was ongoing since 2023 when we had the first solar eclipse in the sign of Aries. We did not have any lunar eclipse in the sign of Aries for this cycle, just the same way we are not having any solar eclipse in Pisces for this time round. So there was only solar eclipse in Aries and only lunar eclipse in Pisces for this cycle of eclipses we've been experiencing between 2023 and next year. So, as I already mentioned, this was a conception that was already building up on itself since 2023 when Pluto first time moved into the sign of Aquarius. The two are connected. As far as I'm concerned, the two are connected. So, we will see who we're going to be by the time Pluto is finished with the sign of Aquarius, because this is all about this breaking of the old patterns. And now with this full moon, which we are experiencing October 6th or 7th, depending where you are in the world, because it's happening right before midnight, for people on the East Coast, Central Time Zone, and the Mountain and Pacific is late night on the October 6th. So for people in Europe and beyond, this is already happening on the October 7th. So this is an illumination of this process that got seeded and have been built up on throughout 2023, 2024, 2025. The final initiation, the final push happened on this eclipse in April. Well, sorry, end of March, 29th of March, with Neptune just about to be moving into the sign of Aries. And now we have the illumination, which is with these planets, Neptune still being on the anaretic 0 degrees, because it's not moving until the 22nd, which is actually after the new moon in Libra. So we have still Neptune in Aries even for the next lunation, which we'll look at in a moment. But this is the illumination of where we at in that process, in this process of change of who we are becoming. Also, as I mentioned with the major transits, you can see that Venus and the South Node are already in a new phase conjunction here. So Venus and the North Node conjunction, I do apologize, I don't remember all of these things. Venus and the North Node conjunction are opposed. Venus is conjuncting the South Node opposing North Node on the 4th. so 3 days prior. So this is a new cycle between Venus and the South Node, and we know that Venus and the South Node last conjunct in the sign of Libra during the time when Venus was the ruler. And this is there was actually two conjunctions between Venus and the South Node in the sign of Libra. So now it's all about these adjustments, because we're talking about Aries and Libra. Aries, this is obviously a Libra season. Sun is in the sign of Libra. By this point is the second decan, which is the Aquarian decan, and 14 degrees is a degree associated with Taurus. So it's about building foundation for this new relational dynamic, because this entire existence on this planet is all about how am I relating, and how this reality is being observed to be relating to me, the mirroring, right? So it is Venus as the ruler of the sun, and Mars as the ruler of the moon. And Mars at the time is in the sign of his rulership, traditional rulership, Scorpio on 10 degrees, which is already a Piscean decan, just about Piscean decan. So it's saying this Mars is pointing us to the Scorpio, that we really have to dig deep. We really have to be brave and courageous enough with this conjunction with Lilith, Black Moon Lilith. We have to be brave and courageous enough, and squared by Pluto, by the way, to look at the things we don't want to look at. We don't want to look at, because now at this point in Libra season, it's all about this karmic balancing, right? This is the final trimester of these 9 months since the conception, since beginning of Aries season, since this new moon in Aries, which was an eclipse. This is the final trimester. The final trimester, the 7th month of that process, which is saying that, okay, you know, by the time the 2026 kicks off with this Capricorn season, which is the manifestation, Capricorn is the manifestation of that which got seeded. It's the last earth sign, it's the self-mastery. So it's telling us that, well, are we ready? Especially with the Mercury on that anaretic 0 degrees. Are we ready? You know, because we can choose whatever we want. The 0 degrees. Also with this Neptune 0 degrees, there is an exact in conjunction between Neptune, Mercury, and an in conjunction between Uranus and Mercury being in the precipice of this yod, the finger of God. It's saying that, well, whether you feel empowered or disempowered is your choice. Especially with Pluto still retrograde, being in a square with this Mercury. They are almost in the exact square. The exact square actually, I think, is happening is it on the same day, technically, on the 7th of October? So depending when this is happening for you, if it's happening on the 6th, then it's the next day, but it's literally on the same day. Later on the same day, we have the exact Mercury-Pluto square, and this is the final square, the closing square, which is the crisis in consciousness. There is an opportunity to let something go, to release something. And obviously, as this is a full moon, which is in opposition, this will contribute towards balancing of that which is out of balance. So we had the opportunity to identify what that was, especially throughout Mercury going throughout Mercury's transit in the sign of Virgo, because Virgo is all about discernment. Like, okay, well, what did we learn? You know, what did we learn? Virgo is the sign of rulership, exaltation, traditionally for Mercury. So what did we learn? And then with Mercury being a sign of Libra, the cardinal sign of initiation of the way of thinking, because Libra is an air sign, how are we going to balance that which we observing, which is a result of our thoughts and action, right? So with the Mercury being on this anaretic 0 degrees ruled by Pluto, and being in a square with Pluto, and being in a conjunction, closing phase conjunction, because as I already mentioned, they're having a conjunction on the 20th, right? 20th in the sign of Scorpio, 19 degrees, which is the rebirth. 19 degrees is a sun card, right? The sun card in a tarot, and is the 10, which is again about the reset. The 10, what minutes was it? Let me check. 1911, perfect, 1011. Yes, it's divinely orchestrated, it's divinely guided. So Mercury closing to this Mars as the ruler of this moon, full moon in Aries. It's saying there is an opportunity to reclaim our power, but it's a matter of choice. It depends on how are we willing to release things that no longer serve us. Venus is in a new phase with this south node, also in opposition with the north node. Release, balance, let go of. With Neptune still on this anaretic 0 degrees of Aries, so therefore still ruled by this Mars in his rulership traditionally. And the moon is actually in a new phase to this Neptune. when we look at it as Neptune to Moon, it's the new phase conjunction. So yes, so everything is changing. We don't know where we're going. This is Moon in Aries. We don't know where we're going. This is still Fool. In Aries, we are still just fools. We haven't done the whole cycle. We are in Aries. This is the first sign of the zodiac. So we don't know where we're going. So this is the new phase conjunction, which is saying that yes, we had the opportunity since, Neptune was in a sign of Aries, which was the day after this new moon of Aries happened, which was an eclipse, final eclipse. So we had this opportunity since the end of March until now, and more precisely almost end of 22nd of October, which is when Neptune is going to re-enter Pisces. We had the opportunity to actually realize, and by that point, I mean, Sun will be in the sign of Scorpio, right? The end of October. It's 22nd. Yes, exactly. Neptune is going to move into the sign of Pisces and Sun in a sign of Scorpio on the same day. Neptune will be already in a sign of Pisces by the time Sun moves into a sign of Scorpio. So this is the final chapter of that thing, the final chapter of the thing, because Neptune is not going to go back into a sign of Pisces in our lifetime ever again. Once it goes back into Aries in January, that's it. We will never see Neptune in a sign of Pisces ever again in our lifetime. So it's literally saying that, well, this chapter is truly ending. It's truly ending. And by the time Saturn moves back into a sign of Aries, which will be on Valentine's Day 2026, it is done deal. It is done deal because it lost meaning with regards to the source and the evolution of the consciousness. It has ended. It has ended. Jupiter here is pre-retrograde. Jupiter's going to station retrograde in November. On actually 11-11 portal, to be precise. Jupiter is no kidding. On 11-11 portal, Jupiter is stationed in retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So Jupiter making a trine still to this north node, technically coming into trine with Saturn. We can see that there is only 4 degrees, right? Jupiter trine to Saturn exact. When is that happening? I can't see it very quick. Anyway, I can't see it very quick, so I'm not gonna waste time looking at it. But you can see that Saturn and Jupiter. Actually, I don't know if there's gonna be an exact trine because Saturn is going to station direct, and Jupiter is gonna station retrograde, so there might not be exact trine, but they are already in a trine within a degree. We can see 23 and 27, and this is the first trine. The first trine since the conjunction, which is about the harvest. So this is all about the expansion. We have the opportunity to let go of the old labels, the old identities, and the old roles we play that are connected to the Piscean age, this karma loop, the karma loop, the trauma loop, and step into this new direction as fools, right? The moon in a sign of Aries, where we claim our power back because that's who we really are. That's who we really are, with this Jupiter on the final, it's actually Aquarian degree, but it's the final decan of Cancer, which is saying about liberation from the previous identities. So this new cycle can begin. So we can start this new way of being, this new way of evolving, which is going to be different. And it's going to be different for everyone because it's the Aquarius undercurrent, which is all about breaking of the pattern and individuation. So it's not going to be the same for everyone. And we can also see, of course, this Uranus trine to Pluto ongoing. So Uranus in a first trine as well. This is like evolving the cycle that began in 60s. I think it was 67 when they last had their conjunction in the sign of Virgo. So we knew this is not a new thing. This is not a new concept. We already knew from 60s when we had the first wave of volunteers, the last of the first wave of volunteers that came here to seed this seedling, put the seeds of this change, which we are now experiencing, manifesting at the moment with Pluto being done with the sign of Capricorn. So it's very hard to explain in a human terms, but when you look at it from the higher perspective, from the evolution of like how these are just cycle within cycles, and we all have a purpose and meaning being here, and we all play a role. But these are just big cycles spinning. They are just spinning and continuously growing and evolving, and everybody plays a role. And we come and we play a role, and we do our best. In whatever identity we embody, whatever archetype, whatever is going on there in your personal life. And then, then we go and then we come back as someone different, and then we impact that energy in a different way. But now with this Jupiter being in a sign of Cancer, connected to every single lunation we are experiencing, everything else that's going on here, with the yacht pointing to Mercury. And Mercury is exalted in Aquarius, right? Mercury is like the lower octave of Uranus, but Mercury is actually the ruler of Uranus at the moment. So we have all of this that is time for us to go beyond the limitations of the ego mind. So with this full moon in Aries, it's becoming more conscious to us, because this is post-eclipses, the first lunation. And again, the timing is not a coincidence. There is not coincidence why we had two new moons in Virgo, second one on 29 degrees, which was an eclipse, and now we're starting with the full moon in Aries afterwards, rather than having just one new moon in Virgo and then having a new moon in Libra, because that's how it normally goes. We start Libra season, we have new moon in Libra. Then at some point we have a full moon in Aries. No, now it's going to be reversed, because we again see the illumination of what was already seeded. And before the new can be conceived differently or perceived differently, we really have to have an awareness. We have to have an understanding of what this energy actually means to us. So we're just coming out of, or by this point you're watching this, we came out of the eclipse season. And we are preparing for the after effects, the integration, and we have the illumination of the eclipse that got seeded at the end of March. They're saying, oh yeah, there is a new direction. We knew it. This is cycles within cycles. This has been conceived long time ago, but, underlined with the final eclipse in the sign of Aries in March. Then Neptune moved into the sign of Aries for the first time. So we started getting the flavor of what the source is desiring by understanding what lost meaning, what is not longer dead. It's not necessarily knowing what it is, but is starting to understand and embody what it is not, understanding the contrast of that. So yes, we can see, Jupiter trining in the North Node, being the traditional ruler of the North Node, saying that yes, now we are more aware, we are more conscious. And of course, when Jupiter stations retrograde on 1111 portal and will be retrograde until spring next year, by the time we are done with all of that, so Jupiter will be retrograde for the entire next eclipse season. The first eclipse season of 2026, Jupiter is still retrograde. So we will have the opportunity to truly, truly accelerate our growth and evolution, because then, Uranus will move back into sign of Gemini at the end of April, and they'll be like, okay, well, the trains really are going to start leaving the station and going in different direction, depending on which timelines are you choosing. That's your train. And then eventually the trains will not see each other anymore. So this is why this year 9, it is so pivotal. And we just came out of the Virgo season and entered into final trimester of this 9 months process, seeded with the eclipse. And we're going to end it with the Capricorn. Right, the Capricorn season, even though the Capricorn new moon is not until January. We will not even have the Capricorn new moon this year. Literally, this is this is going to be taking us into the final lunation for this year. Will be the full moon, no, the new moon in Sagittarius. New moon in Sagittarius at the end, very end of Sagittarius season. So the full moon in Cancer and the new moon in Capricorn will await us in January 2026. So the next year will really show us a lot of things, and we will understand a lot of things, but we already are understanding some of it now, illumination of many patterns and aspects of reality, and we know what we're working with, because this is a Libra season. So it's saying now it's time to balance it, now it's time to let go of that which is not in resonance with that, to create your new contracts, because Libra is also the justice, which is the legal system. In a spiritual level, this is literally about fulfilling your old contracts, which is something I covered already in my previous video, fulfilling your old contracts and signing a new contract, which is with your higher self, the Jupiter in Cancer, your own essence, your higher self, and the North Node in Pisces, of who you came here to embody to be, but you are a spirit incarnate, walking the earth with the Venus in the South Node, adjusting our relational dynamics based on the past lessons and the learning that we've already completed. we've already completed. Venus is already, well, actually, the node is on a Capricorn deck, and Venus is already on a Taurus deck. And actually, yes, that's what I was tapping. I was like, okay, I can feel the graduation here. 21 degrees, the world card. Venus is on the degree of the world card, 21 degree, because I was like, I can really feel the energy of the graduation here again. So yeah, this is going to be an illumination of what is the potential of you to embody, to become, and what is the new direction that's going to open up for you when you are brave and courageous to face your fears, these ego identities that we have, the protector, especially the protector that say, oh, no, I can't do that. And it's not safe. And let's just play small, because we get decapitated and stuff. So with that, let's move to the new moon in Libra, because that is a continuation of that process. So that's the 21st of October. And this moon got seeded. This is obviously new moon is a reset. But the last new moon in Libra was also an eclipse. The full moon in Libra in April 12th, which was the day when Sun conjunct Chiron, as a reminder of the previous conjunction, which took place on a solar eclipse in Aries in 2024 on April 7th. I never forget it. April 7th, 2024. No, April 8th, because then we had the 8-4 in summer 2024. Okay, let me not get lost into my own rabbit holes. On April 12th, 2025, this year, we experienced a full moon in Libra, which was not an eclipse. But the new moon in Libra we are having now on the 21st of October was seeded with the eclipse. Just the same way like this full moon in Aries, yeah, that one, full moon in Aries. The full moon in Aries got seeded by the eclipse. This new moon in Libra that we are resetting the last new moon with, because it's a new moon to new moon. It's a one cycle, new moon to new moon, but it's not the new moon to the next new moon. That is just a continuation of the expansion. But the topic of the sign, which is, in this case, Libra, relational dynamics, how we relate, got seeded with the eclipse. 2nd of October 2020, where are we? 2024, was the final eclipse in the sign of Libra, the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, the final eclipse, solar eclipse, which was the seeding of these new relational dynamics. And at the time, South Node was still in the sign of Libra on the 6 degrees, which is the Virgo degree, 38 minutes, which is number 11. Again, divinely orchestrated, divinely guided. New moon on 10 degrees. 10 degrees is about reset. This was already telling us about next year. And Lilith was exactly conjuncted. 10 degrees. Mercury again, right behind. 11 degrees, closing to this new moon. Because the old relational ways ended. They ended. Because Pluto was squaring the nodes for the entire 2023 and 4, and it was pointing to South Node, first in a Scorpio, then in a sign of Libra. Not the entire 2024 for the square, but then we know at the end of 2024, Pluto was trining the South Node. So we had the square for the entire 2023 and some of the 2024 from Pluto to the lunar nodes, pointing to the South Node as the resolution node. So it's saying this is the one that is tripping us up. This is the one that we need to resolve. So it's the sense of disempowerment that comes from us feeling that the external world is in charge of my life. And in many cases, we say, oh, well, but isn't that the truth? Like my life depends on a lot of things, the weather, what's going on with the politics, financial system, economic system. And that is true to a certain extent. That is true with regards to our ego experience. Like, yeah, we have to pay bills. We have to, follow certain rules, and stuff. I'm trying to like discern about what words to use. So there are certain things that, yeah, in order to operate in this world as it is right now, yeah, there are certain rules that we have to follow. But with regards to the higher experience of the reality, with regards to us being a soul incarnate, having an experience here in a physical body, and like observing it, because the spirit, your I am, is neutral. It's not judging. It's just, oh, okay, this is happening. This is the fact. The good and bad is up to me, whether I say this situation is good or bad. That's the ego adding the label to it. So with regards to these dynamics, yes, the external environment has a certain influence. It has a certain impact, but I cannot control the external environment, I can only control my response to it. So what are we changing is how am I responding to the environment? Do I really believe that this environment has complete control over my state of being? So it's not even just like, yeah, it has an influence over my life. If somebody comes and burns my house down, then yeah, they have an influence. They just took the material away, right? But they don't, the extent of the impact on my experiencing, on my observation of my I am observing this reality, how much power do I give it? It doesn't mean that now I'm just gonna walk the earth and not have a response to anything. I'm just like, well, never mind, doesn't matter. I'm just a spirit over here. No, it's about the balance. It's about the balance. It's about the Libra. How much power am I giving to everything that is outside of me that has an impact, but how much control do I give it? And to which extent, does it affect me and for how long? With the Libra, Libra is, Saturn is exalted in Libra, right? And Saturn is the Chronos. Saturn is the timekeeper. So how much power do I give to this? How much imbalance can this cause in my state of being? Like, yes, I do have a response, in many cases, actually reaction, based on the ego mind, based on the archive of the past, but how long am I in that state? So already last year with this solar eclipse in Libra, the final one in the sign of Libra, and during the full moon, obviously, we already had the Neptune in the sign of Aries. That was the first lunation with Neptune in a sign of Aries, the full moon in Libra in April 12th this year, which, as I said, it was Chiron-Sun conjunction on the same day. So because Chiron is the key between Saturn and Uranus, the manifested reality, and that which lies beyond, which is not yet manifest, which is the breaking of the old pattern. So we can see, here, Mercury was closing to the moon. It said that the old way of relating, it is no longer beneficial, This is an Aquarian decan. It said, well, this pattern has to change. Pluto was on 29 Capricorn. It said, like, well, this pattern was established long time ago. And by Pluto going through the sign of Capricorn and be almost done with it by this point, obviously Pluto re-entered the sign of Aquarius the following month. Pluto is saying, well, I'm just showing you what now is kind of like redundant, is redundant because too much power is being externalized. My existence is always affected. It's like this, wherever the wind blows, that's where I get blown to, like with the leaf, I just get blown in whatever direction. The mountain doesn't care what weather is out there. Doesn't mean it's not affected, but it's still standing, right? That is the Capricorn, like the self-mastery. So it's not like I am unaffected at all, but I am still standing. I am in charge, right? So with Saturn, here on this second decan of Pisces, of the foundational degree, 14 times 2, and that's 5 and 5, and that's 10, and 5 is the chaos agent, and at the time still retrograde. This Saturn is on the Cancer decan of Pisces. So that is all we've just been talking about this Mars in Cancer, during the initiation in on March 29th, this final eclipse in Aries. And this is October 2024. So that's prior to that, which is saying like, oh yeah, this Saturn with the Pluto on 29 degrees, anaretic, saying like, oh yeah, this is a Virgo decan of Capricorn. So, well, there are adjustments have to be made because look at this Mercury, Mercury is closing to the moon. It's saying, well, these relational dynamics, they don't really work anymore, because we feel too disempowered. This is not medieval age anymore. Well, yeah, somebody can just go and chop your head off, we can say, oh, that's still happening, it's still possible. On a physical term, yes, we are impacted by the physical world in a physical form, but how much power do I give it? Like, yeah, you had people I don't know from my personal memory that I remember that, but there are people who were like tortured, and they would laugh at the person's face, they would still not, their will was so strong that they would not cave in because their spirit was so strong. Their spirit was so strong. The spirit was stronger than the mind, and the mind is stronger than the body. So that's what I mean, the mind, the Mercury. How much power does the external have over my mind and over my emotions, right? The Cancer on the second decan of Pisces, the Cancer. So there are so all of this was already preparing us for 2025, saying that, well, there will be things. And like I have no idea, obviously, at the time of recording this, what's going to happen throughout the eclipse season, because I'm recording this on at the beginning of September. Eclipses haven't even hit, so this is like we try time traveling here. So I have no clue what's going to be happening by the time you're watching this. What will have happened throughout September, throughout the eclipse season, throughout equinox? I have no clue at this time. I'm just saying that the cycles are building up. The cycles are building up, and the spirit is impartial. The spirit's going to create whatever circumstances are necessary in order for the spirit to rise, for the spirit to be reborn. The Mars in Cancer spirit to rise, right? With the North Node in Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer, spirit needs to rise. The will of the I am has to rise, because the old concept of reality, which is built on this sense of disempowerment that comes from the belief that the external world is in charge of my experience. There are things we can't control. We cannot control many things. But what I can control is how am I experiencing this? Yeah, I can be upset about it. I can cry about it. I can be angry about it. But how quickly I can tune into that inner peace of I am and bring myself into that point of equilibrium, neutrality, balance, but yeah, I can still feel all of these emotions, this is still going on, but it is not going to affect my entire state of being, not indefinitely, no. This is something I have a control over. I decide, because my I am is stronger than my mind, ego mind, and my mind is stronger than my body. The body is ruled by the mind. The body follows the mind. Whatever you think in your body straight away is responding. Do I feel anxious? Oh yeah, I feel this tightening in my stomach. I can feel sick. I can feel the tightness, in my shoulders, in my face, whatever. The mind controls the body. The body responds, but the spirit has the ability to override the mind, the higher mind, right? So this was all conceived. You can see Mars, Mars was in Cancer because Mars was pre-retrograde. Mars was already in a sign of Cancer. It was squaring the moon, and it was squaring Chiron in Aries, ruled by Mars, on 21 degrees. Where did we just see the 21 degrees? Oh, let's see. Oh yeah, Venus, relational dynamics, Libra ruler. And then during the time of the new moon in Libra, final eclipse last year, during the time of conception of this moon at the end of October 2025, that's going to be resetting it. Mars was squaring Chiron on 21 degrees. And 21 degrees Aries makes an inconjunction to 29 degrees of Virgo, which is where Venus is now in a real time, 7th of October. And this is the in conjunction that says you had to have the experience. You had to go through everything that happened between here, 2nd of October 2024, until now, 21st of October 2025. Because how the hell would we know what it feels like to experience Neptune in Aries? We've never experienced that. Even our grandparents didn't experience that. It was a long time ago when that happened. Last time, like 160 years ago or something. So that's what I mean. So how do I know, what it feels like in 21st century with Pluto in Aquarius? When they had it last time, it was a different weather out there. Pluto was somewhere different. So that's what I mean, so we didn't know, we couldn't know. Now we know different, we know, well, okay, yeah, Neptune in Aries during Pluto in Aquarius feels like this. We don't quite know how to identify it. There is no verbiage, but, I have certain inkling in my body. So same for Saturn in Aries, same for Uranus in Gemini, right? So now, 21st of, yeah, this is the present moment in future when you're watching this. Uranus still on 0 degrees because retrograde, but Uranus is not moving until November. So Uranus is still on 0 degrees, anaretic. Neptune 0 degrees, anaretic, right? Is there anybody else on 0 degrees? No. Venus is on 9, which is the ending. Yeah, the relationships are ending, the dynamics are ending, the old way of relating is ending. The moon is on 28 degrees. Oh, that's interesting. 28, the number 10, the next year, 21. Again, we have the world card present. And 21 is the free, is the creation, the co-creation of the new earth. between ourselves and the spirit. You know, the old has to be balanced. It won't just disappear. We have the in conjunction between Saturn and Neptune and this new moon in Libra. This is the 2025 one, by the way. Yeah, the 2025, the one that's going to be happening at the end of October. Yeah, so we can see, you know, all of this is trining this Mars Mercury conjunction 20 degrees judgment, clearing of the decks, conjunct Lilith. Again, Lilith is on 21 degrees. Isn't that exact where she was? When was she on 29 degrees? I just saw it somewhere. Where was Lilith on 21 degrees? I just saw Lilith somewhere. Where was she? Lilith? Where are you? Oh, she wasn't on 21 degrees, but she was conjunct, yeah, Mars and Mercury. Yeah, I don't have any more charts, so that must have been what I was looking at. Anyway, I lost the train of thoughts on that one. But in any case, Venus is here. Lilith is here on 21 degrees, which is the world card again in Scorpio, conjunct Mars and Mercury in Scorpio. This is actually right after their exact conjunction, which is the day before on the 20th. And this is right before Neptune re-enters the sign of Pisces, which is the day later on the 22nd. You can see the 001, 1 minute of Aries. So this is really profound, you know, because this is really seeding the new relational dynamics for 2026. Because last year we had the old dynamic's gonna end. You know, Mercury here is in a new phase with the moon. You know, is in Scorpio already. Last year it was in a closing phase. Oh, here is the Lilith. Okay, yes, perfect. Here is the Lilith. She was conjuncting the moon 10 degrees. Yeah, that's interesting because the 10 is the reset and the 21 is the graduation. There's so much, guys, there's so much in this chart, so much that we could dive into. But yeah, we also have this beautiful trine. Yeah, the grand water trine, all about intuition. So it's forcing us inside out. The moon is being at the precipice of the yod from this Uranus, Neptune, and Neptune to Saturn conjunction, precipice of the yod, just like we had now, right? The Virgo new moon number 1 that was at the precipice of the yod on the 0 degree of Virgo, precipice of the yod. So now we have another yod pointing to the new moon, which is saying that we are creating, and this is Libra, this is a Gemini, we are choosing what are these new relational dynamics. And with Venus being on this 9 degrees of Libra, it is not going to be what it was, 29 minutes. Again, there is this 11. You know, there's a lot of 11 undercurrents. So spirit is behind all of this, as always is, but we have a proof for it here. Because the old way just doesn't work. It doesn't allow for equality. It doesn't allow for freedom, right? The Libra, the justice. Yes, somebody's needs are met, but is everybody happy? You know, is it fair? You know, with Aquarius, it's all about win-win. Everybody has to be the winner. It's not about, so there's few people in the world who are the winner all the time. They have everything they might, you know, dream about, and everybody else has nothing, right? Or very little scraps from the table. This is not going to work in Aquarian age. It's not going to work. And this is why all of these things are coming up to the surface, you know, the justice, that's the truth, right? The monk saying, right? That they say that the three things that can never be hidden is the sun, the moon, and the truth. That's why the truth is coming up, because it's showing us this shadow of the humanity, the dark aspects of humanity that allow for this to be the case, that allow for this extreme imbalance to exist on this planet, when there is this majority of the population that is enslaved in the modern times, and then we have that small percentage of the population that is just playing chess and laughing, you know. This is not going to be the case in the upcoming years. Maybe years, probably still yes, but definitely, you know, within next 100 years, especially with Pluto in Aries, this is not going to be the case anymore. But first, we have to become aware of it. You know, like we have to get off our hamster wheel where we've been trapped, just trying to survive, So that's why Uranus is still on 0 degrees, not yet in Taurus. There are different ways, but we can't see it. We can't see it because it's an inconjunction, it's a blind spot. And this is a scorpionic one. It's hiding in the shadows. It's hiding in the shadows that we now graduated from, you know? Like, so the only way to get to the other side of it, to get to the end of the tunnel, is get through the tunnel. And that's the Libra season, you know? Like, obviously, we already had the Virgo season. The Virgo season is all about this preparation for the change and being an eclipse season at the same time, simultaneously having the 999 portal, which is all about the endings, being the month and the season of the hermit, which is the year we are at the moment, and the year of the snake, which is all about the shedding of the skin. Snake is also associated with Pluto, I believe. You know, the metamorphosis process, the death and rebirth, stripping the layers of the old identity. And yeah, Jupiter trining, all of this, right? Jupiter, the expansion of consciousness, 24 degrees, that's another ending. There's a Piscean degree, another ending. On a Piscean decan, double Pisces. Cancer, Pisces decan, Pisces degree. The old way of identifying ourselves within the construct of this world, the old way of relating, the old ways we played, they are no longer available. 9 degrees, that's ending, you know, that's ending. We already were prepared last year. Initiation of the reset for 2026, October eclipse 2024. We were already prepared. We already said, well, this is it. 2025 is the last year because we cannot keep going this way. This is not in alignment with the energetics of the current astrology and everything else that's going on, you know? Neptune is in Aries. The source has a new desire, the desire of you becoming, or not becoming, you already are, remembering who you are and embodying that. Embodying that 20 degrees is already Cancer. Cancer, 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 Cancer decan of Scorpio. Remember, but we can't remember if we don't face the fears. Because it's just like with Chiron, behind your greatest wound is the greatest healing, you know? Your wound is the healing for the collective. Because when you heal it and you will find the cure, you can share it with others. So that's why the Chiron is the key from the Saturn to Uranus. All that we agreed on soul level to embody, to go through our wounds, our trauma, our challenges, when integrated, healed, transformed, transcended, transmuted, transcended, they become a remedy. A remedy for others, a remedy for collective consciousness, and also with regards to the energy of the balance, because Aries is in opposition with Libra, and we know that next year, June, Chiron moves into Taurus, right? That will be when Jupiter will be approaching the analytics of Cancer. So Chiron on the final degrees of Aries and Jupiter will have a square on final degrees of Cancer. I mean, they're having exact square here. They're having an exact square here, but they're gonna have another one. I mean, I don't know if exact, but they're gonna have another one in June. Well, yeah, because June Jupiter is gonna be ending with Cancer and Chiron is gonna be entering into Taurus. And this is the first quarter square for Jupiter, which is the crisis in action. It's a conscious choice. We have to decide it consciously. So how does this have, what does this have to do with this Libra? Well, you know, Jupiter is squaring it. Jupiter Chiron is opposing it. Jupiter is squaring it. T square pointing to Jupiter over here. It's all about the expansion of consciousness. So the astrology, it's like, so how to identify it? It's the thread. You follow the thread. What is the thread in this? Yeah, there are a lot of details. There are a lot of planets doing a lot of aspects. There are a lot of details, but it's all contributing towards the same energy. What is the thread? Can you see the thread? The thread is about the way we identify ourselves and the roles we play in the physical incarnations. They are changing. because the way that we are currently identifying ourselves, we are limiting ourselves. We are not seeing ourselves clearly. We don't see, right, in conjunction, we don't see who we really are to one another. We are just playing these roles, to create the dynamics that help us to embody that which is unhealed from the past, the karma, so we can balance it. But we are not that. We are not our wounds, we are not our suffering, we are not our anger, we are just experience these things. So these energies can be embodied and run through the system and cleared, and then they're gone. And then we can choose something different, right? So with this Libra new moon, the new relational dynamics for the future timelines are being birthed. Because the last new moon solar eclipse was about telling us what's ending. What's ending is these codependent dynamics that always create inequality and unfairness. There is never a balance, there is always playing these roles of the savior, martyr, prosecutor, like the victim, like always these roles are being played by everyone, and we all play them all. And we even playing them now, and it's just like, no, no, because these roles will never be equal. They are not equal. The prosecutor is not better than the victim. The victim is not better than the savior. The savior is actually not better than any of them. Because it's always about imbalance. It's saying that you are not strong enough, so you need me to save you, or you are a victim, so you poor you. But we are all equal. It's 11:11. We are all equal on a soul level. We all equal, and now we bring in this equality into the human form. The equality has to be embodied in a human experience. This is what's being birthed here. But we don't know how it's going to look like. We don't know how we're going to do it. All the answers are hiding within, deep within. The guidance is within. The key is within. In your hero's journey, your fool's journey, what you feel excited about, what you feel drawn about, there is no explanation. There is no logical answer to that. It's just, I just feel drawn, I don't know. My intuition is telling me this is what I have to do. Why the hell do I have to go to Bali? I don't know, but I know that that's what I have to do. When we live life in that state of flow and faith and true surrender and trust that actually you never been fully in charge. Your higher self is, but you do have a free will. So you can try to go against it, but then your life feels miserable. Like, oh yeah, I always wanted to travel. I always wanted to be free, but let me tell you why I can't do it. And let me feel bad about it, you know? So whatever it is that you feel the desire that I always wanted to do this, but I never gave myself a permission. Why? Because of all the bloody stories in our head. Oh, because of this, because of that, because I don't know, because we don't trust, like me. Well, I'm taking 2 months off and I'm self-employed. So if I don't work, I don't have any income, right? And I know I have to do that. So I have no idea what's happening by the time you're watching this. Maybe I'm selling readings on the street in Bali, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I have to do, which is I need to go through this experience. I know I have to do it. So there is this complete trust and surrender that, well, if my higher self is making me to feel this desire, and I know that this is something that has to be done, then I have to trust that a path will be shown. There will be a way. There will be a way to get me from where I am to where I feel I'm going. But I'm just feeling through it. I don't see it. It's like the Two of Swords. Like, I don't see where I'm going. Like my mind is not engaged to tell me based on the past evidence to replicate the same pattern. My mind is disengaged. That's why the eyes are closed. Like you are sensory with the Two of Swords. The senses are shut down. The senses connected to matrix, to the outer reality, Libra, the external world. With the Two of Swords, the senses are shut down. You have to tune in to show you the guidance forward. That's why we have the grand water trine. I mean, we would even have a kite if Jupiter wasn't 7 degrees away from the south node, which is a bit too much for sextile, but technically we could draw a line over here. We would even have a kite. So the new is already created. It does not yet exist in a form because even Chiron is just in Aries, Saturn is in Pisces, revisiting, still retrograde at this point, conjunct this north node. No, Neptune is 1 day away from returning back to Pisces. So we are revisiting, but at the same time, the new is already being birthed. It's already here. It's already here on an energetic level. Like again, Libra is the air element. So it's our thought or going beyond it, like the higher mind with the Mercury in Scorpio on a Cancer decant. The higher mind, the mind that is not actually a human brain, is led by the intuition. So this entire Libra season, entire month of October, because obviously, it's not going to be all just Libra season. We're stepping into Scorpio season the following day. I feel this is what's going to be about. It's going to be very, very clear to us, especially after the full moon in Aries, very, very clear to us what is not part of where we're going. And then simultaneously, as the old is dissolving, the new is already being conceived and realized, even though it is not realized as a formed words. I can't tell you. I just have some kind of feeling or a vision or a moment of understanding, understanding, moment of clarity. Again, Libra, like the justice, the fairness, it's all connected to clarity. Libra as the, is the justice card, and it's also like the Queen of Swords, right? Queen of Swords, the clarity, Queen of Swords, the clarity, the embodiment of the clarity. What that means to you, Queen of Swords, being very clear. There is no confusion. There's no more confusion. Neptune is still in Aries. He's not yet in Pisces. In Pisces, he's in his rulership, but yeah, there could be a lot of confusion, a lot of lies, right? So throughout the Libra season, we are going to be realizing what is what. And it depends on the level of how far you want to go, because we can continue to keep lying to ourselves, like, no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to go through this. Oh, no, find excuses. The mind will fill the gap to keep us protected, to keep us safe, to keep us stuck in the same place. The mind will fill the gaps. So who is the liar? It's like the Seven of Cups. It's a Seven of Cups energy. You can choose a lot of things, but don't allow the confusion of these choices to be the guiding force. Tune within the seven, the higher learning. It's a test. Seven of Cups is a test. It's a card of a test. Because then we have the 8, 9, 10. Seven of Cups is still a Scorpio. It's the 8, 9, 10. That's the Pisces of the Cups. So it's the test that's bringing up the opportunity to reclaim your power and become resilient and trust yourself. So throughout the Libra season, as the after effects of the eclipse season, which the eclipse season is going to stir a lot of things, because eclipses are the moons on steroids, new moon, full moon on steroids, and is the Virgo, is the embodiment. So things that are going to be stirred, just like Virgo, Pluto, Virgo generation, they seeded a lot of stuff that now got, manifested. The outcome of that, the growth, the learning, the open-mindedness, the things that were brought through in the 60s, like the east to west, west to east, a lot of things got stirred, they got mixed up, and now with Pluto, with Capricorn, they got manifested. Okay, well, like yoga, meditation, these Eastern philosophies being taught in the Western world. This is not a new thing anymore, but it was not always this way. It took Pluto Virgo generation to do the stirring. So the Virgo season of the year 9, of this year, 2025, stirred a lot of things the same way. But, we're not going to wait between Virgo, Pluto Capricorn. We're already here. So the Virgo season stirred a lot of things. So now with the Libra season, we're going to be seeing the clarity of what it is, what it isn't. We might not know where we're going, but we know where we've been. And, is this something that I want to replicate or not? Because if I want to go somewhere different, I cannot take the same direction, or I cannot ask for direction someone who haven't been where I want to go, because they haven't been there, they don't know. And this is where most people get confused, because they ask advice for a lot of people who haven't been where they're going. And then you get confused because everybody's got an opinion and they're going to tell you based on where they're at and where they are going or have the potential to go. So anyway, there are a lot of things to say about these charts. There is a lot of stuff that's going to be happening throughout October, and there is a lot that it's going to lead to, because then we enter into Scorpio season, which for me personally, being Taurus, it is usually not a very easy season, but it's an always opportunity for growth. So yeah, it's the opportunity for balancing. So yeah, so let's see how that plays out. And like I said, I don't know what my next video is going to be like. It could be just another overview or whatever is going to happen. I have no idea who I will be after my Bali trip. So I'm just gonna stop sharing because I think I said enough about these charts. Obviously, there is much more you can say. You can see the Venus is closing to the moon, just like Mercury was last year. So this is all about the end of the old relational dynamics of these old roles we played that are unequal. The role of the martyr, victim, persecutor, and savior. This is not celebrated anymore. I don't want anybody to save me. Do you? Do you really want to have a savior? Like, that's why these fiction movies were so popular, but now you are becoming the superhero. I am becoming the superhero. We are all superheroes. I don't want to put somebody else on pedestal and go, please save me. No. And I also don't want to be seen as the victim. No. It's all about equality. We have equal opportunities, and maybe not so much now, or we don't feel we do, but this is what we birth in. And it is the 21st. I mean, it's so funny. Spirit is so funny because it's literally like, oh yeah, it's the 21st. It's happening on the 21st, the world card, the number 21, which I said has been popping up so much, you know, the universe, and it's 1121. I mean, no kidding, Spirit 11, the Spirit 21. Spirit has a very good sense of humor. So that's what I mean. We are just continuing the spiral. There are things we graduated from, good, bad. Libra is about fairness and justice, good, bad. Well, that's your opinion. You decide. Do you want to feel empowered or disempowered? And it will depend who you see yourself to be. The constant and who you see yourself to be. Do I feel as a victim? Do I feel as a savior? Do I feel as a martyr? Do I feel as a prosecutor? Who do I feel I am? Because this Libra is just like, well, it's whatever you want. The spirit is impartial, is neutral. So this Venus coming to this closing phase to the moon. And she's actually unaspected based on this chart. Well, I would still give her a trine to Uranus, because in evolutionary astrology we use 10 degrees orb. So she's trine to Uranus as far as I'm concerned, which is the first trine, the Leo, the creation, manifestation. Yeah, because these old relational dynamics, these old roles we play is based on the old controls, they are redundant. Saturn here is on Cancerian degree, foundational degree, Taurus degree, 26 Taurus degrees. We're creating foundations for the future with the spirit, understanding who we really are, which is not just these labels and identities. Jupiter is squaring it, so it's creating a lot of pressure for us to recognize that, because the new relational dynamics are being conceived as we speak in October, because the world cannot go on like the way it is. This is not the way it's going to work, because it is not in resonance, and we don't have to like it. We don't have to agree with it. It is just what it is. The source desires change, and we are in a new cycle now. We are in a new cycle, and it takes adjustments. It will take time, but we have the nodes in Pisces, Virgo until July 2026. So we still have time. So anyway, guys, I'm really going to go, because the more I'm looking at this chart, that there is more I can tell you about it. So anyway, so as I said, this will be launching sometimes at the end of September, beginning of October. So you have enough time to watch and digest and integrate. You can revisit it if you wish to. I know it's a long video, but there is a lot covered in it. And as I said, I am on my honeymoon and on my rebirth journey. So I am not available for personal readings or for recording, I believe, but I don't really know what's going to be happening until I get there, which is in the future at the time I'm recording this, but in the past, by the time you're watching this. which is funny, the time. But yeah, if you wish to support me in this new chapter, as I said, I am not working, so I'm not receiving anything, while I'm in on my break. Yeah, there is the GoFundMe link. I put it in the description. So if you feel you would like to support me on my journey, so I can support you, and we can all support one another, that there is that opportunity. And also, I will be back to work at the end of October. So after October 24th. So if you wish to connect with the new version of me, whatever that's going to be, then you can book from my website, moonlightsoul369.com. And yeah, we can schedule a meeting and see where that takes us, in co-creation of these new relational dynamics and new timelines that we are seeing as we speak. So with that, guys, I wish you all a wonderful month of October, and I'll see you, I guess, at the end of October in some kind of video. Much love, everyone, and have a great time. Bye.